right, welcome back to another Final Fantasy 16 discussion. My name is Hat, and joining me today I have returning champion Lane. How are you?
Doing good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Cool. And we have a new guest, Rad from Rad Console Gaming. How are you?
Hey, man. Doing great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have you all here today because we're going to be talking about the new Final Fantasy 16 website, some of the information that was revealed there from Yoshi P, and just kind of speculating about this game that we're all excited to play when it comes out. But before we get into all that, I do want to give a shout out to y'all's channels and the stuff that you're involved in on YouTube. So why don't we go ahead and start off with Lane here? What's your YouTube page so everyone can go check it out?
Yeah, so you can find me on YouTube at the Laninator. That's Leneanator. I'm also on Twitter at Laninator. So come follow me there. So I do quite a bit of variety of videos, unboxing, streams, ranking videos, and such. Most recently, I played through quite a few games on stream recently. I played through Bloodborne, played through Uncharted 1 and 2. So good stuff. And then, did an unboxing of the limited edition of Cold Steel 4 was my most recent video. So been diving into that game and loving it.
Are you still doing the review discussion thing, videos that you used to do?
Not as much. I don't think I'm a very good reviewer at times, so I try to maybe steer away more towards like ranking style videos.
Okay.
I think if I put a little bit more effort into my reviews, I maybe could do a little bit better at it. But lately, that's not really been my my focus, so to speak. So
fair enough. I did enjoy them, but I gotcha. Rad, what's your YouTube page?
So my YouTube page is Rad Console Gaming. I have like rankings from my favorite franchises. I do let's plays, blogs, gaming news. I'm mostly RPG oriented, but I try to do a little bit of everything. So yeah.
Cool, very cool. And then also, you both have joined forces for another RPG podcast, the Eternia Archives. So, do you guys want to talk about that?
Yeah. So me and Rad are on, like Pat said, in the podcast called the Eternia Archives. We're on YouTube and many other platforms through Anchor. So come find us on your platform of choice. We all met on it's me, Rad, and Callie Chronicles, Anashi, and Nick at Heat Haze Gaming. We all met on Eric Landon's Discord page, became pretty good friends, and we're like, hey, let's start a podcast. So we've been doing that for 2 months now. And typically every episode we do top 5 of some kind. We've been going through all the different popular consoles and given our top 5 games on that console, and then we'll usually cover some sort of side topic, news event sort of thing. So,
cool.
Come hang out if you like this podcast, you'll like ours as well.
Well, gents, let's jump into it. So today, like I said, we're going to be talking about Final Fantasy 16, going through the website, going through the new artwork, breaking down the fact that we actually have a name for our main character now. I don't have to refer to him as the main character any longer. Very excited about that. But before we jump into the website and some of the new information, let's kind of catch everyone up to speed on where you all are on Final Fantasy 16 in terms of the trailer that was released. What were your overall thoughts? Rad, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, sure. I wasn't expecting Final Fantasy 16 at all when they announced that the PS5 was going to have an event, right? So when I start seeing, those things, I think I was thinking more towards like something like Project Athia or even Final Fantasy 14 DLC for PS5 or something like that, or an expansion, But then once the trailer started like going and I saw Chocobos, I started to get hope, and I was so excited about it. Now that I've seen the trailer so many times, I have a different opinion on my first reaction. The first reaction, I just remember blood everywhere and Chocobos and a dark tone, I was like, this looks, kind like, maybe Game of Thrones-ish, So that was my first impression. I was impressed that or not impressed, but surprised that of the dark tone that the trailer had, and that at the time I thought that that's probably not a bad thing, because maybe that means that Hiroshi Takai and Yoshi P, they have more freedom to do whatever they like with the game.
Hmm.
But yeah, that was my original impression. I liked what I saw, but I was cautiously optimistic, let's say.
Yeah, I pretty much followed the same trend as you, whereas initially I was kind of
Hmm.
like, what is this? What is this game? Because it was so different, but at the same time, there was chocobos in it, and then it said Final Fantasy 16 at the end, and I just didn't know what to think.
Right? Yeah.
That really caught me off guard.
So many. Yeah. So much blood. Like people beheaded. Axes flying everywhere. I was like, what is this? Like, but I mean, I was so excited to see Final Fantasy in the event that I was just hype.
Yeah, yeah. Lane, where were you at with this trailer?
Yeah, I'm with Rad. I was not expecting it. And I was filming in my reaction to it because I knew there was kind of like rumors that they might reveal Final Fantasy 16 at this event. So I had the camera ready just in case. When I was first watching it, I was thinking, wait, Final Fantasy 14? This looks like Final Fantasy 14. And then they showed another scene,
Yeah, that's what I thought.
and it was like, wait, this looks way better than Final Fantasy 14 does. This is Final Fantasy 16. Let's go. So, um, yeah, I'm with you, Rad. Like, I was really surprised at the blood. Like, instantly when I saw that scene where, the guy gets, I don't know, beheaded or slashed, and, blood goes all over the kid's face. I was just like, oh, wow, we are finally getting a mature rated Final Fantasy game.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah.
When I saw that, I thought, okay, well, clearly it's a Final Fantasy game because there is blood, like you said, or not blood, but chocobos, like we talked about, and
Yeah.
Shiva and Titan and all those different iconic characters and that we know with Final Fantasy. But it just seemed to me like this was going to be like a spin-off game, right? Like maybe
Oh,
something like Type Zero, where that was mature rated and there was like a
right.
dead chocobo in the first 10 minutes, and there was like lots of blood and stuff, but so I was surprised when it was a mainline entry. And but yeah, anyways, I'm at the point now where I'm really, really excited. If you go back and people are listening to this, you check out my initial impressions with my other co-hosts from our podcast, Eric and Stan, where we basically gave our impressions 2 hours after seeing it. I was not happy. You can listen to me complain for like an hour. I was trying to be positive, but I was not positive because, and it was just because, if you look at Square's announcements, well, the problem that they've had over the years is that they will show a trailer that's just like a concept before they even started
Right.
on the game. And then the game doesn't come out for like 10 years. And
Yeah.
I'm exaggerating slightly. In one case, not really. That's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
But it takes so long for the game to come out. And then they're almost trapped by this concept that they made,
Sure.
10 years ago. Like they're like, no, we have to make it like this trailer, but we didn't even know what we were doing back then. Right.
Yeah.
And people are mad when characters don't appear in the game that were in the trailer. And so I was like, oh my God, they're doing it
Yeah.
again. A 4-minute long trailer, there's no, anyways, I thought that that's what was going on here, but we got word later that this game is, going well in development. It's Yoshi P saying that it's not going to take 10 years to come out. There's rumors that it's going to take only a couple years. Some people actually think 2022. So that would be really, really exciting. So definitely really cool on that front. But once I saw that Yoshi P had said that he chose to not make it a CGI sequence because he wanted to, shove it to the Americans, basically. I think I think he called America out specifically. And he said, I saw something where Americans were saying, like, if it's a CGI sequence, it would take like till 2035 to come out.
Yeah, people were commenting on the video like, okay, see you in 2035. And I think
Right.
we like acknowledge that as a meme. Like,
Yeah.
no, it's coming out a lot sooner than you think.
Yeah. But it was just that it was a conscious choice to show the gameplay in the state that it was, just to show that there was actual gameplay. because that was one other thing where I was a little like, I don't know, because the gameplay looked good, but like the textures weren't loaded in the background. Everything was super foggy.
Right.
And I just was like, this seems really early. Why are they showing this? But
those trees on the on one of the battle scenes, like they don't look like they're,
trees.
but they don't look like they belong there yet. Or I mean, like they're fully, it's like early development, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I want to point that out. We're talking that it's not going to look like that when the game comes out, right? Because anyways, so that was the thing. I was on the same page with you where I was looking at that and I thought, this is early development. They're doing it again. But again, Yoshi P was like, no, we just wanted to show gameplay just to kind of like shove it to people that are going to say that this game's going to, we don't have anything developed for this. We know what you're saying. And it's not like that this time. So I thought that was cool. And, also once I found out that this was Yoshi P's, you go back and read interviews, he's talked about if he did do Final Fantasy 16, that he wanted to make it high fantasy. He's talked about in interviews that he was a big Game of Thrones fan. So once I saw that, and it allowed me to look at this trailer through a new lens and really see that, like, okay, this is Yoshi P's passion project. Plus, Yoshi P's in charge of the studio. He's on the board of directors at Square Enix. So they're letting him do whatever he wants. That's why it's M-rated, right? So I just, before I was worried that they were just trying to copy what was popular at that point in time, which is Witcher, Game of Thrones. But now I see that they're just letting Yoshi P make a game that he wants to make. So let's jump into this website here. So first things first, let's just quickly look at this website and just kind of run down what's on here. Then we're going to actually read a blog from Yoshi P summarizing some of the events or some of the key pieces of information that he wants to bring up, and should be pretty cool. So first things first that's noticeable is this badass, looks like it's, I don't know if the hand drawn is the correct terminology, but this doesn't look like it was rendered. This looks like almost like an airbrush painting or something like that. But man, this looks sweet. How do you guys feel about this?
I love this. I love that contrast of that the really sharp red and the gray is just gorgeous.
Yeah, having Phoenix and Ifrit, and I like the look of the character. The sword reminds me a little bit of Tales of Arise whenever that releases, but yeah, and the background is like, it reminds me of of Final Fantasy 12 a little bit as well, and I like it a lot.
Yeah. I'm really excited to see all the different landscapes. Because you picture in your head, even Final Fantasy 15 did it very well, but you think of Final Fantasy and you just think of these massive landscapes that are just like so bizarre, like from another world. And to see it in this detail, I'm really excited. So
yeah, I mean, people are pointing out that this really reminds them of the Matsuno games. So if those who are listening are not familiar with what that means, Matsuno did the Ivalice game. So we're talking Vagrant Story, Final Fantasy Tactics, and he directed Final Fantasy 12, but he got taken off the game because he was protesting Sakaguchi leaving the company. But he came up with the concept of 12 and the world and a lot of the lore. And there's Ivalice that is in that game. So this reminds a lot of people of that, which is pretty cool. Matsuno did say he said he would comment on it one time. And he said, I am not involved with Final Fantasy 16. That's the first and last time I'll talk about it. Because I guess people kept tweeting at him. But Yoshi P did work with Matsuno, and he said that Matsuno is, he looks up to him, right? So this seems like it's influenced by it, at least to me, because if you look at this artwork here, especially when we get down to like this artwork right here with Clive and Joshua, you compare that to like the Zodiac Age Final Fantasy 12 artwork, it's not exactly the same, but it's very similar to
for sure.
stylistically. That and Vagrant Story a little bit different, but just kind of the style of it and direction of it looks very similar. So that's really cool for sure. Yeah, so we got this new image. A lot of people think this is going to be the front cover of the game. We'll have to see. I think it's too early to tell on that, but it's definitely really, really cool. They have the same trailer that we got back at the PS5 showcase. And then there's some information on the world, which we're going to get into, and then also information on the characters that we're going to get into. And then there's some message from the developers. This is stuff that was already available, but it's kind of cool to go over. But that's a rundown of what's on the website. We'll go through that in more detail, but I want to get to this blog here because this is literally from Yoshi P, and he's kind of pointing out certain things that he wants us to pay attention to. So it seemed like it was a good thing to go through. So before I get into that, let me just jump down to the characters because that's really what I want to get to here. 3 characters swept up by the winds of fate. There was a lot of speculation, but yes, the young knight and the tattooed man in the Awakening trailer are one and the same. His name is Clive Rosfield, and he's the main protagonist of the game, the firstborn son of the Archduke of Rosaria. Clive is a shield who protects his younger brother Joshua, the dominant of the Phoenix. Joshua bestowed the blessing of the Phoenix upon him, giving Clive the ability to wield a part of the icon's fire. However, as the story unfolds, he is swept up into a great tragedy. So there is some more stuff with Clive on the website here. All right, so we have the firstborn son of the Archduke of Rosaria. Though all expected him to inherit the Phoenix's flame and awaken as its dominant, Destiny instead chose his younger brother Joshua to bear the burden. In search of a role of his own, Clive dedicated himself to mastering the blade. His practice pays off when, at just 15 years of age, he wins the Ducal tournament and is dubbed the first shield of Rosaria, asked to guard the Phoenix and blessed with the ability to wield a part of his fire. Alas, Clive's promising career is to end in tragedy at the hands of a mysterious dark icon Ifrith, setting him on a dangerous road to revenge.
I have a theory.
Okay.
You guys want to hear it?
Yeah, let's hear it.
I think that Joshua is killed by Ifrit.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what leads Clive on his quest of revenge.
That's a possibility, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of the direction I was going into with when I broke down the trailer, is it seems to me like that's hinted in the trailer that Joshua turns into the Phoenix and ultimately Joshua's either killed or severely injured, and Clive has to leave his home and he comes back later as a man. It's almost like a Godfather type story, right? He comes back as a grown man and reclaims his territory.
Yeah.
I guess the question is, what happens to the icon if the dominant dies? You know?
Yeah.
That's a good question, because if Joshua does die, what does happen to that icon? I don't know.
And I'm also thinking that scene on the trailer where it at first it looked like Joshua was kind of healing Clyde. Maybe that's when he's actually passing the power to him.
Well, they do say that on the website, I believe, that Clive was blessed by Joshua with the ability to, Joshua bestowed the blessing of the Phoenix upon him. So you're thinking that perhaps this is where
that's the
going
moment
on.
when it happens. Even though it looks like he's hurt, but that was my impression when I saw the trailer after reading the website.
Yeah.
If that's the case, I'm with you on that. That could very well be where that happens. If that's the case, it almost looks like, because it's not like a big event, that maybe he's just trying to do it like on the down low, right?
Yeah. The only other thing is maybe this is just some sort of, I mean, Phoenix is a healing type summon, right? So I feel like maybe is just him, doing a quick heal on
it
Clive,
could be, yeah.
But maybe his sort of passing of the Phoenix power or whatever is kind of a more formal setting or situation of some kind.
Yeah, that was my initial interpretation. Well, the initial interpretation I had was that they talk about this blight, right? And a lot of people were pointing out initially that, oh, this is Joshua. He's able to heal the blight. And then I thought that was such a goofy idea because, is this guy just walking around the castle with this blight? Like,
Right. Yeah.
he's just spreading it to
Exactly.
everyone. Like, I was like, that doesn't make sense. So I thought, okay, he must have gotten burnt or something, but that might be the moment too where he's passing it on, because that could be it. I could go with that. What do you guys think about the fact that Clive is not? Because initially I thought Clive was a bastard. I thought that he was Joshua's half brother, and that's why he wasn't the Phoenix bearer or the dominant, because he wasn't. He was a bastard. He wasn't full blood, right? Whereas Joshua's more related to, I believe this is his mother, right? And that was further pointed out to me anyways, that, I mean, if you look at them, they're, Clive's bowing, Joshua's not. They both have blonde hair. So I thought, okay, like he's a bastard. This is his mother, not his mother, right? And that's why he's being treated like he's royalty, and he's just, he gets to manage the chocobos. But it says on the website that everyone expected Clive to be the dominant, and it just didn't come to him. I guess it's not something they can bestow on them by choice. It just happens through the dominant itself, or the icon. I guess it chooses the dominant. So it seems to me that the dominant actually chose Joshua, and everyone expected it to be Clive, which is pretty interesting.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, they must hold. Only thing I can think of, just thinking out loud, is like they must hold the dominant wielder as the more figure of authority or royalty, like you were saying. Maybe I know they had mentioned in the website that some of the kingdoms or cultures kind of shun the dominance, and maybe this is kind of one where they almost kind of shun, other members of the royal bloodline that maybe don't have the dominant, or something along those lines.
Yeah, because that's the other thing that really surprised me about this is that, and it fascinates me really, is that culturally this seems very similar to things that we know from modern fantasy, but it's also kind of different, because if these two are literally brothers from the same mom and dad, it's wild to me that he has to bow and he doesn't, right? Because he's the dominant, and that's just interesting to me that they would have that dynamic.
I think there's a section in the I think in the world part that mentions that if you are dominant on some regions, you're seen as as superior, and or something like that, while in others you're seen as a threat. So probably Rosaria is one of the reasons, one of those territories where they see you as as a high hierarchy person. So maybe that's the reason that he doesn't bow, even if he is the son.
Gotcha. Yeah. The other thing I was gonna speculate about that is the Archduke. If that's their father, was he not? And they expected Clive to be the dominant, but it came to Joshua. I wonder if at this point in the game, if he is the dominant, right? Or if he's chosen to be the dominant, but if he can't summon it until the Archduke dies and it transitions to him, or can the Archduke also summon the Phoenix? Or is, you know what I'm saying? Because it seems very complicated, because if he has to bow, but he doesn't, but that their father is the Archduke, it's almost like the Archduke has the ability to, he's the dominant, right? That's why he's the Archduke. But then after he dies later in this trailer, but I was thinking like right here where the Duke's killed and like the blood shoots all over Joshua's face, that maybe at that point the Phoenix moves to Joshua.
Oh, yeah.
But then why isn't the Archduke not summoning the Phoenix at this point? He just lets himself get. I don't know. We don't have enough to speculate here, but I'm just guessing here. One thing I do want to point out while we're on this topic that I noticed like a week or so ago. This guy right here. This guy is somebody to look out for when you play the game, because this guy is going to betray us, right?
Right. It's
get it close. If you can pause at the right moment and you can get a good look at his face. Okay, so that's not the best look, but you can kind of see him right here. And I think when you play the game, this guy's clearly wearing the same armor, right? He's betraying them. And I was looking at this trailer and I was like, okay, this guy appears one other time in the trailer. And we just
so my theory about that guy,
he's right
the,
here.
the one that betrays, I think he's working undercover for the Iron Kingdom.
I think that's him right there. So
yeah, I think that's him. Yeah. When we go later over the world part of the website, and we read that Rosaria and the Iron Kingdom, they both like kind of share, the mother crystal, same mother crystal.
There's that armistice where they share the area,
right? Or more like Rosaria uses that mother crystal, but it is actually in charge of the Iron Kingdom. So maybe at some point they have to to go to war and something, and they need to fight for that one. And sometimes betrayals are more of a how do you say that, like a reason to hate than actual war, so
right. Yeah, I mean, that makes sense for sure. When we get there, let's jump more into it. Let's keep going to. We can come back to Clive, but let's get into Joshua too. We have on the website, it says Joshua Rosefield. I keep wanting to say Rosefield, but I think it's actually Rossfield. Joshua Rossfield is Clive's younger brother and also the dominant of the Phoenix, icon of fire. Dominants are special beings who have the power of an icon residing within them. As a dominant, Joshua transforms into the Phoenix and fights to protect his nation. Even though he was born into royalty, Joshua treats everyone with kindness, but he does have his childlike side too, with a particular dislike of carrots.
I like that they include that little detail that he doesn't like carrots.
Yeah, they're really trying to like get us attached to this character. I mean, he's got no negative qualities.
That's my thing, that they're putting this character as a very important character, and even though I like the theory that he dies as true, so something tells me that he has a bigger role than that just dying in the first few hours of the game. So maybe he dies but he's still around somehow. So I don't know.
Through Phoenix or something.
Right.
Because I think that because he has the ability to heal, I think that makes sense, right? Because there's a element of resurrection there, perhaps, where he's able to come back later, I guess, maybe, perhaps. So we'll see.
Yeah, because the Phoenix in a lot of Final Fantasy game it's mostly like just a mass revive, revive, right?
Well, Phoenix down, right?
Yeah, that too.
So that's what I was thinking. Like, okay, well, Joshua might die, but I think Rad's right. He'll either stay temporarily dead or he won't actually die. So I think that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
We get a little bit more information here. So he's the second son of the Archduke of Rosaria and Clive's younger brother by 5 years. So he's actually 10. I thought he was like 7, but whatever. Joshua woke as the dominant of the Phoenix soon after his birth. Oh, okay. So that kind of answers that question right there.
Oh, okay.
Despite his noble upbringing, Joshua treats all of his father's subjects with warmth and affection, none more so than Clive, whom he deeply admires. Joshua often laments that it was he, the frail and bookish younger son, who was granted command of the Firebird's flames, not his stronger, braver brother. While Clive will gladly throw himself into any danger, Joshua quails at the sight of a carrot on his dinner plate, but carrots become the least of his concern when he, too, is swept up into the tragic events that change Clive's life forever. And they're getting a lot of carrot lore out of this.
Yeah, I can see it now. That's gonna be the meme of Final Fantasy 16 is
Carrots.
carrots.
We've gotten like 3 sentences on these damn carrots. If there's not a carrot in this game, I'm gonna be upset at this point.
That's probably the DLC item if you pre-order a carrot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
probably. But I don't know too much what else to say about Joshua. I mean, he doesn't like carrots. He's frail. He likes to read books. I mean, this clearly is a cute kid. He's holding a puppy. I mean, they really want us to like this character.
Yeah. Right before they kill him.
Yeah. But cool. Let's go over to our next character. The two brothers find a confidant in Jill Warwick, who was raised alongside them at an early age. Jill was taken from her homeland in the Northern Territories, a nation that she swore loyalty to the Grand Duchy of Rosaria, to become a ward of the duchy, securing peace between the two realms. She spends her childhood years with Clive and Joshua as a member of the Rossfield household. Honestly, if you guys have watched Game of Thrones, I'm getting mad Theon Greyjoy vibes from this character.
Oh, wow.
Where, this is a character that was raised as a child in this other, perhaps enemy territory, but has grown fond and almost treated like family to the Rossfields. But, she always resents the fact that she has a family back in this other land. Perhaps she would be more important. She wouldn't be sitting here doing the stables, and having to bow to this lady and stuff like that. And I imagine, I'm just guessing here, guys, I could be completely wrong. This might not age.
Sounds plausible to me.
That's really a good point.
This may not age well, but I'm thinking that this guy that kills the Archduke, it's probably going to take me too long. Well, anyways, you guys all saw who I was talking about. The guy who cuts off Archduke's head or slices his neck open and the blood all goes over Joshua's face. I was looking at that guy as perhaps clearly undercover of some sorts, right? Maybe he's a spy from Jill's former land, right? Keeping an eye on her. And maybe he's able to play with her emotionally. Hey, they're using you, that type of thing. And maybe she's not completely on board, but maybe he says, hey, we won't hurt them. We just want to, whatever. We just need to get them to a safe location so we can take back the crystal or whatever the hell they're going to do. Right. And he ends up betraying that trust and gets the Archduke out in the open with Joshua. And I'm just placing this all in my mind.
Yeah,
I know there's no way for us to actually know, but I'm just like that. I think that's what's going to happen. But
I mean, being a Game of Thrones fan is a fascinating theory, actually.
Yeah, I think it sounds pretty reasonable to me.
Yeah.
But there has to be, for that to happen, in my opinion, there has to be a reason why she's so important, though. So I mean, it could be the theories that she's actually Chivas dominant or something else,
I guess one thing I'm thinking is, so they said Northern Territories, and on that map, the opposing kingdom seems to be the Iron Kingdom, which is to the west of Rosaria. So I guess I'm wondering, like, if she's from a Northern Territory and they're kind of at war with this Iron Kingdom, kind of like the theory that Rad had. I kind of wonder how that all ties in together. Where does Ifrit come in? Like, is he like some sort of icon from the Iron Kingdoms, or and what's Ifrit's relationship to this betrayal that seems to happen?
So yeah, that's a good question, because right here we have Rosaria on the map, and then to the west, like you said, is the Iron Kingdom. Now, Iron Kingdom's Titan, so there is Ifrit.
The Republic is Titan, right to the south there of the Rosaria.
Oh, Dalmatian Republic?
Yep.
Yeah, Dalmatian Republic, yeah.
Okay, I got that wrong. So the Iron Kingdom, do we know what icon is associated with that yet?
We don't, but I'm theorizing that it's that they say that
they share the same crystal. Yeah, the only
they
thing
share the same crystal, which seems to be a fire crystal. So I speculate that Crete is probably their icon, but it also says that they they judge dominance to be unholy abominations. So it must not be. I guess maybe the icon exists, but it's not necessarily what's the word? Celebrated, I guess.
Right. Or maybe it's like a second class type thing.
It's shunned. Yeah.
As it says, okay, interesting. Well, one thing that I'm trying to piece this together, and one thing that stuck out to me was if you look at the Iron Kingdom crest or symbol right here, right? If we look at this with the two axes and these two little swords thing, if you look at the beginning of the game or the beginning of the trailer, anyways, let's go to this guy right here. It's got a similar vibe going about right here, but it's got a sword going through it. And I wonder if perhaps based upon what your profession is in the military, if that's the weapon that goes through there, because I didn't see anything else that really resembled that tattoo. And so I was looking at that and saying, okay, well, that's a sword. I imagine later when you see the dragoon, it has similar armor. It's the exact same armor actually. So I was just like,
"Ooh, that's actually a good point." I wonder if Clive, after whatever tragedy occurs, if he when he leaves Rosaria, if he goes to the Iron Kingdom, and maybe they seem to be the enemies, so maybe he's kind of there, undercover and kind of rising up the ranks, and then he's going to turn around and betray them. I can see something like that happening.
See, that's the kind of direction I was going, because there's a scene in the trailer where Clive's called a sergeant, and that's when he has a tattoo on his face. And I mean, I don't know how this world works, but usually, a sergeant's enlisted, and usually if you're royal blood, you're an officer, so you'd be like a lieutenant or a captain or a major or general or something like that, right? And usually enlisted ranks are for nowadays is if you didn't go to college and you join the military, you'll be, private, corporal, sergeant, that type of thing. So the fact that they call Clive a sergeant kind of goes along with your theory, Lane, that maybe he's undercover, right? Because he's not going to be like, I'm the Archduke's son,
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But
it's pretty interesting. I don't know. I mean, you guys think that tattoo is close enough to that? Because if that's the case, I would imagine the dragoon would have a similar tattoo with like a spear going through it, right?
Okay. Yeah, I can see it for sure. It's a good observation.
That's the scene that they're talking about. That the target is the girl, the dominant from
Shiva's dominant. Yeah.
Shiva's dominant, right? So I guess depending on who that is, because Clive is already there as well. So if they're talking about Jill, I mean, the thing is that also if going back to the beginning of the podcast when I suggested that what happens if a dominant is killed, what happens with the iron, maybe she didn't have she wasn't like the dominant at the beginning of the game, but she got it somehow. That's another possibility, because she doesn't give me the vibes that she's the dominant by the time they're young,
Right. Because it almost seemed like, we're going to go back to this. The two brothers find a confidant in Jill Warwick, who was raised alongside them. At an early age, Jill was taken from her homeland in the Northern Territories. The nation swore loyalty to the Grand Duchy of Rosaria to become a ward of the... Okay, so if she was taken from her homeland in the Northern Territories, that would have to be Sanbray, which, let's go ahead and get into that.
I have a theory. I think I have a theory of who the two crossed out icons are.
Okay, that's right here where it has the two black marks.
Yeah, I think the Sandbreak is Shiva.
Okay.
And I think that Wallowed, just based on the sort of their symbol, that looks very similar to Ixion, the Thunder Horse summon.
Hmm.
So I'm uh, theorizing that their icon is Ixion.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense that this would be
Yeah,
Ixion.
it could be.
I don't
Yeah.
know. Like I'm so in the middle on whether or not this is Shiva Sandbray though, because I think that makes a lot of sense, except and I know this is the Crystalline Dominion. I know that's really just where the armistice happened, right? Where
Mhm.
it's just kind of like the place where people meet and discuss things. But if you look at Homegirl's necklace, well, let's look at Shiva real quick too. Like if you look at this like symbol here on her crown and stuff, I'm looking at
Oh.
that and I'm like, well, that kind of looks like that, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, it does.
But then that doesn't make any like, because I thought that the Crystalline Dominion, I thought that they didn't, it says no dominant. So I don't know if that's just
Or so we thought.
a coincidence. Yeah, so we thought.
Yeah.
I mean, but it just seems too similar to me. But the other thing too was she has this like thing around her neck that might just be a piece of jewelry, and I'm just reading into it. But it's like a blue crystal looking thing, and it kind of reminds me of this thing right here. But aside from that, everything else makes perfect sense that this the Holy Empire of Sandbray would be Shiva,
Yeah.
especially since they cross it out. Hmm.
You guys, what do you guys think? Do you think there's also more icons that maybe, or maybe I don't know, maybe icons that maybe don't necessarily have a dominant, or there's more dominants that aren't necessarily associated with a particular kingdom?
So you're saying there might be more dominants that are just
Yeah, I wonder, like, like I was thinking of Ifrit, for example, like where did he come from? Like it kind of makes more sense now that maybe he's some sort of like shunned icon dominant from the Iron Kingdom. But that kind of makes me wonder, like, okay, is there actually more uh dominants out there
Like
that we
Odin, for
don't know
example, as
about?
well.
What was that,
Maybe
Red?
maybe Odin as well.
Oh yeah.
hmm,
Hmm.
I don't know. I mean, they kind of make it seem like like the whole world is built around these dominants, right? Like every nation
Mhm.
wants one. It's almost like a nuclear weapon that like if you don't have one, it's pretty hard to maintain your territory. It seems like. And so I
I
would
see.
imagine if there's a dominant just walking around like living in the village, right, that has the ability to summon, you know, out of Odin, for example, or something like that, I would imagine that one of these other kingdoms would snatch him up real quick, unless they all are equal at the crystalline dominion or Drake's tail. That perhaps
Okay.
they're there, but they're on equal footing. So that's why it says no dominant. There's dominance, but there's no.
Yeah. Like even on that symbol, they had like four different crests or whatever in there, and it almost looked like one was associated with each kingdom. And each kingdom sort of had their own, maybe like an element of some kind, where Rosaria is fire,
Mm,
Sandbreak is ice, Willowed would be thunder, and
mm,
then Titan would be earth. Yes.
yeah.
It's and it kind of the way that symbol looks, it kind of looks like it's some sort of like unity between them all, or
Well, it says it's as part of the peace treaty, the islands around Drake's Tail became an autonomous dominion led by a council of representatives from the surrounding nations, each realm enjoying equal claim to the Mother Crystal's
Hmm.
blessing. No dominant makes their home there. So, God, I feel like we're so close to figuring out what this is, but then we just get to a point where it's
we're
like,
missing. Yeah,
this
yeah.
doesn't make sense now, Um, yeah. I don't know. This is so fascinating though to see what's going on here.
Another thing that I think got answered is that well, first of all, those scenes from the battles of the Twin Realms on the trailer, right? There is there is a moment that something looks like, like an ice pillar or something, I guess.
Yeah.
And you could point that to, as like to Chiva as I don't know, her castle or something like that. But I think in reality that's just the mother crystal, like the pig in that
Mm.
region, because of the art that they showed. Yeah, if you can find exactly, that's what I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah. Right up here. Let
Yeah,
me see if I can go back a little bit.
right at the beginning, I thought when I saw that for the first time, I thought that was like Chiva's castle or something like that. But
Yeah.
looking at the art now, it looks like, like maybe
Rake's tail.
that's a mother crystal of this area. Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of, I was in the same boat as you. I think it's actually something I said was like, I thought this was
Yeah.
Shiva's crystal and Shiva was protecting her land. But now that we have this information, I think it's literally,
It does look very similar to Drake's head there. Yeah.
this
Right. It
is,
could be.
go ahead, Red.
No, no. I was saying the same thing. Yeah. That looks like Drake's tail. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause they did say on here that there used to be, they fight for that ground because it's like strategic in location, right? So,
Hmm.
there was an armistice that was settled there. So perhaps later in the game, they're going to go back here and try to gain the strategic piece of land. I don't know why this is considered strategic though, because it's only, it's only connecting to this kingdom over here. But these other ones are like not even remotely, there must be some kind of power source from there. They do mention in the trailer that without the blessing of the mother crystal, assuming this is the mother crystal, that they can't ward off the blight. So maybe that's another component of it too, that there's this blight going around and like the mother crystal's blessing protects them from that, but without the blessing,
Right.
Not even Final Fantasy could escape the COVIDs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2020, even there. Yeah.
Like it's called COVID-19. Yeah.
I wonder how long ago was this battle of the Twin Realms. That's like, do they give us like some perspective on how many years have passed or something like that?
They did. Yeah, they did mention the trailer that it was a prior battle, but I don't think
Right.
they mentioned, whether it was like 1,000 years ago. This woman right here,
Right.
I believe I don't know. I don't know if works is the right word, but she's a representative, I believe, from the Mother Crystal, because when she leaves, the Archduke and somebody else says, without the blessing of the Mother Crystal, we won't be able to protect our land from the blight or whatever. And that was right after she mentioned that, you guys don't need the Mother Crystal, like you already protected your land before. And so it seemed like she was declining protection or something like that, and they were freaking out. But she said it in like you guys have done this before, so it made it seem like perhaps this was done when the Archduke was younger. Maybe I'm just guessing here. I mean, but that's what I think, anyways. That maybe this was more a recent battle, like 20 or 30 years ago, I'd imagine. Which makes me wonder if the Drake's Spine or the Kingdom of Walud, unknown dominant king. I wonder if that's the blight that's stopping. Like if without the blessing, they'll just allow the Kingdom of Walud to kind of go into this territory here, and maybe they'll be able to take over everything. What do they say about that kingdom? They have it blacked out. Which Lane, you said was probably Ixion, right? Ixion, right?
Yeah.
So as Walud claims the entirety of Ash, the eastern half of Lycia, as its dominion, the kingdom's control of the continent has often been tested by the orcs and other beastmen. I love that it says beastmen. That makes me think Final Fantasy 12. Who make their home there, but the current ruler of the realm, dominant of blank, has succeeded in quelling the rebellions using the power of the kingdom's mother crystal. Drake's Spine, this new king has built up a mighty army with which he now seeks to test the borders of his neighbors. Yeah, this person sounds very evil.
Yeah.
this doesn't sound like a good force. So
Hmm.
I don't know. There's a lot of interesting stuff though on here to kind of break down. But yeah, it's very, very cool. What are you guys feeling about this game? What does this website, is this website getting you more pumped for this game?
It
More
was a great.
information?
yeah.
It was a great appetizer before we get a proper trailer next year.
Yeah. How do you guys think about the fact that they released the name of the character on the website? Because I thought that was going to be like a bigger reveal, maybe in a trailer
Hmm.
or something like that. I was surprised they just threw it on the website. It's almost like, why didn't you just have that in the trailer?
I don't know.
I mean, I guess, yeah, I guess with the website you have the chance to expand upon it
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
lore behind it. But I get your point. Yeah. Sometimes I mean, it is fine to do that, but maybe I was expecting like even some kind of teaser, like a 15-second something or including that. But it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Hmm.
not, I'm just glad I know now, right?
Yeah.
Because I was really worried it was going to be like almost like an avatar type character where you weren't even going to have a name. It was just going to be very Western and, okay, what size do you want their
Oh,
nose?
that
What
would have
color is
been
their hair?
terrible.
And they're going to refer to the character as the Shield the whole game. And I was just like, dude, no, no,
That would
not for
suck.
Final Fantasy, not for Final Fantasy.
Yeah.
D- So do you guys think that this game is gonna be um, open world, semi-open world, or not at
Mm.
all?
I well, okay, so I thought initially that they were not going to do that because it just, I mean, when you look at the trailer, there are certain fighting spots that just, it seemed restricted, like everything, like there's a little fence here, right? There's trees and such. Like it just seemed like it might be semi-open, but not open like Witcher 3 or, like Skyrim or something like that. However, having looked at this map, this looks pretty open world. Like this looks, I would be surprised if this is not, to be
Mm.
honest, because this seems appropriately sized. What do you think?
If this map is a scale, I think we're gonna be riding chocobos left and right.
Yeah. I'm kind of hoping it's not
Yeah,
completely open world or maybe zones or semi open world.
yeah.
It's kind of what I'm hoping for, I guess. Just
Yeah.
because the way I think
Yeah.
that was the biggest issue with Final Fantasy 15 was the open world because it just felt so empty.
I would love something in between 15 and 7, because 7 I found it is like you're too restricted. Even though I like the game, you're too restricted sometimes.
Mm.
And 15 is too open. So maybe something in the middle of that, something more in the likes of, I don't know, maybe Xenoblade Chronicles or something like that. But
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
that it is not truly open, but you have these massive
Yeah,
lands that you can roam.
I like that. I'd be okay with that.
Yeah. I really like the way that Xenoblade Chronicles does it, where it's like a high priority on just creating like a really interesting map to look at, but it's not so big that, you can run for 15 minutes and like nothing will
Yeah.
happen,
Exactly.
you know? So I don't know. I was with Lane. I was kind of in the same camp as you where I hoped that it was not going to be open world just because, if you guys played Final Fantasy 15, that was a very boring open world and I was not convinced
Yeah.
that Square could do it. However, then I realized Yoshi P's in charge of this, and Final Fantasy 14 has that zoned off open world feel to it,
Yep.
which I would be okay if it was like that,
Yeah, I agree.
where it feels open world, but it's not really. Just
Yeah, it's zone based, but I mean, it's loading times are going to be a non-issue on PS5. So, I mean, just loading into different zones, I think that's be perfect because you'll feel like you're in the area, I
Mhm.
guess, but you won't feel overwhelmed by everything.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Something else that I like is that I have the impression that this game was thought completely for the PS5 and next gen. There's no limitations of if there's any from current gen. So that's the impression I have, and I actually who mentioned that? I think it is Hiroshi Takai that says that um, in one of the quotes um, that yeah that they needed to learn their ways around the PS5.
Oh, learning the
Uh,
ins and outs of the PS5. Yeah.
right, exactly.
Mm.
So yeah, so that means that probably this was thought from the beginning for that console and PS and PC, and eventually I think this is gonna be in every console eventually.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
an exclusive for a time limit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Optimized for PS5 hardware.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm in the middle. I gotta be honest. If I was a betting man, I think that. Well, I guess I kind of assumed when I saw like kind of the way the graphics looked that
Mhm.
they were trying to. They were looking at having a PS4 version depending on when the game comes out, but then it would be optimized for PS5. But I guess it just depends on when the game comes out, right? I mean, if it comes out, some people are speculating 2021. I don't think that,
No,
but
there's no way.
yeah, but if it did come out then, it would almost be dumb to do PS5 exclusive, right? Because
Yeah.
how many people are going to have a PS5, right? But if it's like 2022 or 2023, then it starts making more sense, to go the other way. But
Yeah.
I'm putting my money on a multi-release, but I guess we'll just have to see for sure, But
Mm.
what do you guys?
Yeah. Right now they're trying to sell this PS5, so
Yeah, I imagine
I imagine it would not be in their best interest to put PS4 on there right now. Anyway.
Yeah.
If if I were to put money on a release date, I will say like late 2022 or something like that.
Yeah, that's what I think is going to happen. It's going to be late 2022, and then I think that when we get close to it, it's going to get delayed to like April 2023. 'Cause-
It is possible.
Yep.
yeah, but
Take when you think it's going to come out and add 6 months to it
yeah,
for
well,
delays.
almost every Square game, big game, anyways, at least on the Final Fantasy, the Kingdom Hearts side of things, those have always gotten delayed. Kingdom Hearts 3 got delayed a little bit.
Yeah.
Ooh.
7
The only
remake.
thing is, I think I mean I know Yoshi P isn't the director, but Final Fantasy 14 has always been very on time with things. So I kind of expect that this game might be the game changer for Square Enix, or at
Mm.
least for this like a development studio.
Mm.
Is that no? These guys are legit. They're on time, and things are high quality. I just get that feeling with this
Mhm.
project.
Let them work. Let them take their time. I want to play. I want to play a masterpiece, even if I have to wait a year longer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my thing. Because if you look at 15, you know, they got that game out. They delayed it a little bit, but Tabata, the director, he asked Square Enix for like 9 months delay, and they said no, you can have 2 months. And he was like, "Oh, okay, right." And while I still had massive problems with 15, it was just if I could have just played the game with all that DLC in there on day one,
Mhm.
as opposed to like playing the game on day one with like it's not even the same game now where
It's not.
they've added all these new scenes and they've added like all this new content and you could like switch between the characters now and stuff. And so I'm with you, Rad. Like if they can just, take the time that you need, if you need to, work things out better so that we can have that, the best experience when the game comes out.
Right.
Cause I don't want to play like a beta version of it and then like play test it for you and
Right.
know
Yeah.
the whole story and then like, oh, okay, in 2 years it'll be the final game. So
It's
Yeah.
it's not like that's the only game we're waiting for. Like we're spoiled nowadays with so many games. So take your time. We can play something else while you get the masterpiece ready for us.
Yep.
Yeah, totally.
Well said.
Totally agree. So, well, gents, I'm trying to think, is there anything else you want to bring up about this game that seems to appeal to you? I mean, it seems like we've kind of gone through most of the stuff that's on the website. We've touched on the artwork and the characters, looked at the map. I mean, I do want to point out that this imagery right here,
We've seen this before.
yeah, we saw this like a year and a half ago, and we actually did like a little video on it where we were like, is Final Fantasy 16 semi-announced, right? And we had like a picture of Yoshi P in the thumbnail, and seems like we were pretty on point. Now, we also speculated this might be a Final Fantasy 4 remake, so that was clearly wrong. But the other component was Final Fantasy 16. So
Yeah.
pretty cool that
That architecture is so cool.
yeah, it's like this would not be. Well, I don't know. I wouldn't want to actually be in this castle, right? Because I'm just like, how is that working here? That seems, I don't know. I'm not an
They
architect.
probably got like a big hole, like in the Eyrie on Game of Thrones, where they just like drop criminals through and stuff.
And then they just kind of drop off here into the water. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's reason number 2. I don't want to be in there, but yeah. But this is looking really, really good. So we'll have to see. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap us up for this week, or this episode anyways. Very excited. We'll have to wait till 2021 to get some more information. I'm hoping for January 2021, not summer 2021. That would be ideal. But regardless, I'm sure we'll learn a lot more. I'm excited to find out if we're going to have combat. Like, is that going to be multiple party members, or how's that going to work? I just want to know more about that combat too, because they have the Devil May Cry combat director working on this game. So kind of interested to see how that's going to work. And yeah, I want a release date. I want to know when I can get my hands on this. So
yeah, I mean, having that guy in the team now, I think we can rule out turn-based combat for this game, but I'm over that already. I'm embracing whatever Yoshi P decides to do. So
yeah, totally agree. I gave up on the turn-based stream like 8 years ago or something like that. Like, I was just,
it's time to accept it for what.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, that'll wrap us up for this episode. Thanks again, guys, for joining me in this discussion and being able to go over this website and kind of relay some ideas off you. Been very, very interesting. Lane, your YouTube page is the Laneinator, right? Yeah.
That's right.
So I'll have that in the description, so you guys can just click on that and subscribe and check out what he's got on there. And then Rad, your YouTube page, Rad Console Gaming.
Right.
And we'll have a link in the description. And then your podcast with Lane and some other people as well, the Eternia Archives, is on YouTube. And then you guys have your audio version that goes out as well.
Yep.
So I'll leave a description, link in the description to the YouTube page, so you guys can go check that out. But other than that, I think that's going to wrap us up. So thanks everyone for checking us out, and we will catch you in a few days. At least I will, on our next podcast episode. We'll be talking about the Bravely Default 2 delay and some other Switch RPG stuff. So should be pretty fun, but we'll catch you then. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
See ya.